everybody. Welcome. Today's Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup. So I got to know, could you guys hear me? I was talking this time. I think I figured out what I was doing wrong. So could you hear me at the last, 5-10 seconds of the countdown? Those of you watching live, please let me know. I want to know if I did it right. That doesn't need to be there. There's just stuff. There's stuff everywhere I got to deal with. Oh, look at all the piles. So many piles. Good morning, Liz. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning to all of you, whether you're watching live, later, or listening. Thanks for joining me. How was your Monday? What did you do? Did you watch or listen to episode 698? So many episodes. With Shidoshi Ron Van Cleef. For those of you who didn't know who he was, did you look up who he is? And do you now realize why he's such a big deal? Oh, one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. And not just because of who he is, but because he wasn't willing to censor himself in the best possible way. He just told it as he saw it, and I loved it. Such a great time. Good morning, Jenny and Brian. Kelly says, no, didn't hear you. Great. Then I fixed it. I'm patting myself on the back. What else did you do? What did I do? I did a bunch of work. That's pretty much what I did. Pretty much what I do. I do work. What am I doing today? Today's a different day. Today's going to be warmer. It's going to be up to the mid-50s. So I've got a little bit of work I got to do. Andrew and I have a meeting. I got a website I got to do a bunch of stuff on for somebody. And then I'm done for the day. I'm taking the day off. And I'm going to go get trees and bushes and plant them. That's what I'm doing today. The ground, knock on wood, is thawed enough. We will find out. In fact, I should test that before I go buy the bushes and trees. Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Ray. Wow, look at everybody in here. Awesome. Good morning, Tommy. So many friends. Stacy says, I did go Google. Even if I don't go watch the films, it's good to know who these people are. He was an incredible competitor, and he's just been around. It's a great episode. It really is. It's again, the name dropping in this episode is probably the best we've ever had, or the biggest, best. I don't know. How do you score name dropping? How do you rank it? Number of name drops, quality of name drops. Do we have to come up with some crazy formula to rank the people and the number of times? And let's just say there was a lot of name dropping. Good morning, Cheryl. Stacy says, that sounds like an awesome day. I'm looking forward to it. Any time I get to justify going to buy trees and plants, it's peaceful. It's meditative, and it's something that I need to do. I'm very much looking forward to getting gardening going again. I woke up to feeling a little frustrated with myself, and I'm doing my best to let myself off the hook. I boiled sap yesterday, even into last night, and moved the stock pot of sap off the burner. Never turned the burner off. Oh. So I heated my house all night with the burner on high. Yikes. Fortunately, nothing burned up. I'm still alive. Let's not do that again, Jeremy. And he says, can't wait to get the bike. Yeah. No way I'm getting my motorcycle out the road right now. Actually, I probably could because there are some narrow paths, but it's just not worth it. Because if it gets soft and sticky, and it's just going to grab those tires. And I don't like having to deal with mud and bike and whatever. Andy's asking me, how much did I get syrup-wise? The sap's still running. This today might be the last day. I'm looking at the overnight lows, and they're really close to freezing. But as soon as I'm done with that, as soon as I'm done with maple, I switch over to birch. I could probably and might even start tapping the birch trees today. We will see. but I am expecting, based on the color, it wouldn't surprise me if I get a half gallon, which is kind of crazy for 2 trees. I went out yesterday. The tree that's never been that productive is being more productive than the good tree. It seems like, based on, because one of them is more south, one of them is more northern. So I think it's, kind of microclimate wise, it's in the ideal spot right now, whereas the other one's a little too warm. We will see. I'll let you know. Jenny says, I'm back. Can we rewind the last few minutes of the show so I can see what I missed? No. Sorry. Not going to happen. I want to hear from all of you. What did you do yesterday? Was there anything that was a highlight? Anything that was great and awesome that you loved doing? Was there any victory? Anything we should be congratulating you on? How about the other way? Anything rough happened that you need some support on? Got a great group of people here who will tell you it's going to be okay, or whatever else you might need. So don't feel bad about dropping either stuff in the chat. Frank coming in with the clutch joke. This whole thing sounds rather sappy. It is. What else did I do? Went to the gym, pet the dog. Was supposed to have a call. I'm going to vent a little bit here, and I'm going to try to be gentle about it. So over the weekend, I was at this retreat, and it is a newer organization. It's only been around a few years, 2-3 years tops, and they're doing very good things, and I appreciate what they're doing. But the disorganization is very frustrating. For example, we were told before we left on Sunday, attend this Zoom meeting at 6:30. It's just for this group, and here you go. So I got an email. I logged in. I made sure I got back from the gym. And it wasn't for us. It was for the next group coming in this coming weekend. It's like, okay. But that's not the only thing. They took a group picture, and these aren't meant to be public. Like, there's some, the organization itself tries to keep it private because of what goes on there. And they sent us what was supposed to be our picture. It was 2 different pictures of 2 different groups that were not us. So I've got photos of roughly 100 people, 75 people who participated in this private thing that I should not have seen. And it's all these little things, and it reinforces to me why I work so hard to get the details right. Because I think the details matter. When Andrew and I talk later today, we're primarily talking about All In Weekend, which is at the end of the month. There's a lot of details. We're doing everything we can to make sure this thing goes off without a hitch. There are lists. We have a list of lists. There's so much stuff that's going on. And, details are one of those things that if you're participating in something, you don't notice when things go right. You notice when things go wrong. And I'm glad I have the personality type to hit those details and value the details, because I know what it feels like when the people who are supposed to don't. Good morning, Mark. All right. Tommy did laundry yesterday. Stacy went to class. Kelly just working on scheduling divisions for our in-club learning tournament. First time offering it since COVID, so very excited. Going to be a great day. Ray says, probably should leave these jokes alone. Some people may find them a bit wooden. Take care, Andy. Awesome. What else? Oh, I watered plants yesterday. I did the greenhouse when I came home Sunday night. The plants in there were a little dry, but I watered the rest of them yesterday, and they all look pretty happy. Took a chunk off this big avocado tree. For those of you that, most of you, I don't think, how many of you, I don't think any of you have ever been to my house. I have a, what is that, 7 foot, 7.5 foot avocado tree right there. And it's got some branches that come out pretty far. And one of them was getting a little bit lengthy and I was sad, but I had to clip it back. So taking care of plants, something I love to do. All right. We got stuff from Frank. We got stuff to talk about from the Facebook group. And it was clear to me that not everyone understood what I was asking about in the Facebook group. So we'll talk about that more. But let's talk about Frank's stuff. Frank says, I'm stumped. I can't think of any more tree jokes. I love that it's just like a running side dialogue, like the jokes getting passed back and forth. What's better than starting your day with a little humor? Seriously. All right. So, I gotta change screen. Here we go. Come on, computer. You can do it. From anydayguide.com. The Qingming Festival, also known as Tomb Sweeping Day, is a traditional Chinese festival observed on the 15th day after the Vernal Equinox, which corresponds to April 4th, 5th, or 6th in the Gregorian calendar. It is a public holiday in mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. The roots of the Jingming Festival can be traced back to the ancient cold food festival, Hanshi. The Hanshi Festival was established in the 7th century BC to commemorate the death of Jie Zhitui. I don't think I'm getting that one right. Doing my best. A Han aristocrat who served Prince Chong'er during his exile. He famously saved the starving prince's life by cutting a chunk of meat from his own thigh to cook his lord some soup. Gross! When Chong'er was enthroned as Duke of Jin, he decided to find Ji, who had left to live a secluded life in the forest near Mount Mian, and reward him for his loyalty. Ji didn't want to come back to court, so he ignored the Duke's invitations. To force Ji out, the Duke ordered to start a forest fire. However, Ji didn't come out and was burned alive together with his elderly mother. What is going on? When the Duke realized what he had done, he renamed the mountain after Ji, founded the city of Jizhu at its foot, erected a temple in Ji's honor, and inaugurated the Hanshi Festival as a memorial period for his loyal servant. During the festival, people avoided the lighting of fire, even to prepare food, hence the name Cold Food Festival. Originally, the Cold Food Festival was celebrated in midwinter and lasted for a month. However, the practice of not lighting fires for so long during the cold season was very dangerous for the children and the elderly, or depending on where you live, everyone. After several unsuccessful attempts to ban the festival, local rulers shortened it to just 3 days and moved the celebration to mid-spring. Over the years, the Cold Food Festival has been transformed into the present-day Jingming Festival, dedicated to remembering ancestors. In English, the festival is referred to as Tomb Sweeping Day, Chinese Memorial Day, or Ancestors Day. During the festival, Chinese families visit the graves of their relatives to clean and sweep grave sites, worship their ancestors, make ritual offerings of food, and burn joss paper. It's joss paper. In mainland China, the festival is associated with Jingduan, a type of dumpling made of glutinous rice and filled with sweet bean paste. The rice is mixed with barley, grass, or Chinese mugwort, giving it a bright green color. Jingduan is hard to make, and the grass it's made with is only edible in spring, so it is cooked exclusively at the Jingming Festival. That's an interesting festival, and wow, it's probably the worst thank you ever. I really appreciate you saving my life. I'm going to burn the forest that you live in. Wow. Such a heavy-handed response. I'm not even going to read these next ones. You guys are ridiculous. I love it. I want to save something for those of you in the chat, because I want to encourage those of you that watch later to show up once in a while, because it's fun. And if you listen, you should also show up once in a while. All right. There's our education piece for the day. Frank, I think we might need to add a few elements to your title. Producer, director of humor, education director. We learn stuff and we laugh because of what you supply, and I appreciate that. All right, so over on the Facebook page yesterday, I posed the question: when we talk about real life violence, how do you define inevitable? As in, the altercation is inevitably, it is guaranteed to, it is definitely going to become violent. There is a point before violence ensues where you know it is going to happen. And it could be, if you want the easiest if you want the easiest example I can come up with, someone telling you, I am going to attack you, they are within distance to attack you, and they pull their hand back, right? That's probably the best example. I would say it's now inevitable. And they have a reason, right? In law, means, motive, opportunity. They have the means, they're close enough. They have the motive for whatever reason, and they've told you they're going to, and they have the opportunity. Hands back, right? Like, I guess means actually would be they have a hand, but it's going to happen. And the reason I think that it's important to talk about inevitable when it comes to violence is because, in my mind, once violence is inevitable, the self-defense is legally permitted to begin. If someone is about to attack you, you are allowed to hit them. Now, obviously, there are lots of specifics, and different places have different laws, and I'm not telling you what you can and can't do from a legal perspective, but generally, this is how it goes. There are some clearly defined things around firearms, and we can look at those for clearer examples, but I don't think we have to with this group. Jenny says, you can learn better when you can laugh and have fun. I like it. So when we look at this subject, I think the better we can understand what inevitable looks like, what, let's call it guaranteed future violence. I think the more we know what that looks like, the better. And I'm curious, when you talk about violence, when you think about violence, when you teach or train violence, self-defense, do you talk about this subject? I think it's important for the reason that if someone is going to attack you, if you know they're going to attack you, you know it in your soul, they've checked every box you could imagine, it's okay to hit first. It's something that when we teach self-defense to children, we usually don't talk about this subject because there's too much detail, there's too much nuance. If we tell kids, if you believe they're going to hit you, you can hit them first, there's going to be a whole bunch of kids hitting first, right? Kids don't know. Adults know. We've been around. We understand. This is where some people, if they look at the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai dichotomy, this is where strike hard, strike first, no mercy actually is relevant. It's not about starting a fight. It's about the inevitability of a fight occurring and taking every advantage you have to make sure that you come out alive or with as little injury as possible. So we got some comments. I'll read them. I'm not going to read all of them. So Gad says, that's a tough one. You could argue that you can avoid violence by just walking away. If you have the opportunity to walk away, the violence is not inevitable. That's my aside. Even when your pride is hurt, and just don't go looking for an altercation, but I can imagine that walking or run away is not always possible. Right? You didn't ask for it, but there is about to happen. Being cornered in a place. Yeah, if escape is deprived of you. When you are at a public restroom with your pants down, lock the door. Other places that make you drop your guard and others take advantage of that. It is then inevitable that you have to deal with violence, even dish it out yourself, albeit controlled. For me, the reason I like considering this tipping point, because it is a tipping point, is up until the point where the violence is inevitable, I'm going to do absolutely everything to not get in the fight. I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna talk the person or people out of it. I'm going to try to befriend them. I'm going to go through all the self-defense strategies, the de-escalation strategies, there we go, that I have available to me. But when I run out, if I'm there and there's nothing else that's going to happen, I'm going to flip that switch and I'm going to come through like a buzzsaw, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to create those options. The option to run away. I will attack as long as I have to be able to run away safely. Right? I'm not going to turn my back on people that are standing up and I've just hit them. But, people are down. I can now run away. It is future violence at that point is no longer inevitable. It resets. It comes back down. There's a threshold. Right? And I'm sure we could come up with some way of scoring this, because the definition isn't necessarily easy. Tommy says, I learned a lot about perspective when it comes to violence when I had a couple of jobs where deadly force authorization was invoked. Please tell us more. Ray says, it's really subjective. There is no objective measure. The law also talks the, quote, ordinary, reasonable, prudent person standard. Basically, given the totality of the circumstances, what would another person do? Right. Tommy sums up kind of my philosophy, I think, really well. We're on the same page. Walk a mile out of your way to avoid a fight. Once in it, however, don't back down an inch. Yeah, I like that. So I want to know more about what you all think, because I think this is an important concept. And, I've been aware that we haven't talked martial arts stuff in the way that we used to for a while. And so I'm trying to bring some of that back in. We're going to phase in and out of that because some of these topics are kind of heavy, but I think it's good for us to dig into this heavy stuff once in a while. And I think sharing perspective is a good way for us to all learn. I learn a lot from you. I learn a lot from the guests on the show. I learn a lot from the people around me. It's something I find valuable. Stacy says, sounds like a good idea for a book. There I was, and nothing happened. I hope you all supported that book from Jason Brick. And Ray says, rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And that's part of it too, right? It's what is it going to look like on the other side? And this is where a lot of martial arts that get into the self-defense aspects, Krav Maga, etc., primarily, they have, I don't want to say a focus, but an attention to making sure that people around you know you are not the aggressor. It's things like, I don't want to fight. No, leave me alone. Go away. You're cornering me. You are making me feel uncomfortable, right? Yelling things that other people will hear. Because let's face it, it's the cell phone era, and it doesn't always look good. Especially if the cell phone video is edited to the point where you're the one throwing the first punch. So you've got to keep saying it, and you've got to keep evaluating the situation to make sure that you are not using more violence than necessary. Hopefully you don't kill someone. But if it's them or you, it's a pretty easy decision. If it's them or you and the jury gets it wrong, you're alive. There's always a chance for appeal, right? This is why violence sucks, because it's not clean. It's messy. It's messy in the moment. It's messy after. Depending on what happens, it's messy indefinitely. And we don't always talk about how messy it is. Discussing the mess isn't something that we can do with everyone, though. right? It takes a certain amount of training and a certain healthy attitude towards the subject to be able to talk about it in that way. It's not something I think in a general class, I'm probably not talking about the depths of the law and or what to do if you actually possibly kill someone. If you think that they might be dead, what do you do? Right? Like, I'm not talking about that in a class. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff, and it's stuff that needs to be tackled in broader form. It's not a 5-minute conversation. Tommy says, once in it, it's over quickly too, and those few seconds can change your life forever. It does suck. Just because you were good at it doesn't mean you enjoy it, meaning violence. Kelly says, if I or my students have used their voices in what we call their no stance, and the person continues to proceed, then when they are in range, you palm heel their nose and continue until the attacker is down and unable to follow you. Then you can leave. And most importantly, tell someone. And I think Kelly's hitting on a really important point. You can apply standards that make people understand that they are crossing a line. No, I am not comfortable. You are threatening me. Please back off. And I've had to say that a couple times to people. There was a circumstance, I shared this. I think this was early days of First Cup. I actually think we had this going. I was at a Planet Fitness showering, and I opened the curtain to grab my towel, which was hanging on a hook outside the shower stall. And there was a man standing, I don't know, 4 feet away, staring at me. And now it was very clear he wanted to use the shower, but he looked up. He looked irritated, and he was way too close. Like it was beyond social standards of close. And it took a second. I said, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I was as respectful and polite as I can. You know, please, sir, can you take a step back? And he was sarcastic and back. You know, I forget what he said, but I felt so uncomfortable. I did not close the shower curtain while I dried off, because I thought I'd rather have this guy looking at me naked while I dry off than have this guy be able to get closer without me seeing because the curtain's closed. What I should have done, the one thing I should have done differently, has been very clear. Sir, I am uncomfortable with how close you are. Please go step back out of the shower area. I'm feeling threatened. Because there were other people in there. I could have said it plenty loud enough. He would have heard it. Why didn't I do that? Because I was embarrassed, right? It's the same reason that nobody's going to want to say something like that. But I also could have said, hey, everyone in the shower, in the locker room, this man is making me uncomfortable. Somebody would have stepped up, right? Because if he decides to ignore my request, or here's what generally happens. If you draw a line in the sand for someone, most of the time they're going to step back from that line, or they're going to step over that line. You know exactly what their intention is. I don't think he would have stepped over the line, but if he had, I would have considered it threatening. And I've replayed this in my head many, many times. What did I ultimately do? I dried off, grabbed my things, went to the front desk, told them what happened. I never saw him there again. I'm pretty sure they threw him out. Good. They did the right thing. Kelly says, with kids, I try to explain that there is a difference between being in trouble at school versus trouble at home. Yes, if you fight back to protect yourself, and you will get in trouble at school, but you won't at home or with me. Many parents have said they'd take their child out for ice cream to help explain that they would be okay with them defending themselves. And this is where I have a huge issue with the way schools handle violence. Schools operate as in this subject as if the laws do not exist. Schools operate extra to the law, and I think that is ridiculous. And I think if things continue to go the way they are going, I'll be honest, if I had kids right now, I don't think I'd want them in public school. I don't. That's a whole other subject. I have been advising those of you who teach to start setting up daytime classes because there's a growing number of homeschool students. For those of you who don't know, during the pandemic, many areas of the country had 10% disenrollment from public school. That's a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. All right. Good job on that subject, everybody. I'll post another thing for us to think about and talk about tomorrow for Wednesday. Remember, if you want to support, whether you want to grab this mug or something else, the mug was not available until midday yesterday. I thought I set it live on Friday, and somehow I messed it up. But it's there now. I checked. I also took the suggestion of the choose your own colors on the dragon hoodie. That's an option now, too. You can grab that. Pretty straightforward. You buy it. I'll email you and say, what colors do you want? You tell me. We'll get it ordered and shipped out to you. Boom. So if you want those discount codes, and yes, it would work on the hoodie as well. You've got the code FIRSTCUP15 for 15%. You've got the family page, whistlekick.com/family. I will be updating that again this week. I do every week. And if you want and that's the full list. And we've got the Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. Only the people who were in the Patreon knew that Ron Van Cleef's episode was yesterday. Oh, don't forget, next Monday, April 11th at, I don't remember what time, 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m., there's a Facebook event. We will be doing a live stream to celebrate episode 700, so you should come around for that. If you have questions or comments, leave them on the Facebook page, facebook.com/firstcupwithjeremy, or you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. Remember, we do the show every weekday, 6:30 in the morning on Facebook, on YouTube, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Twitch, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Twitter. Thanks for coming by, everyone. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you back.